We are back, segment 2, back here in the mid-sack. It is a freestyle, freeform Friday. It is approaching the witching hour here as we're 11 days from Trick or Treat. Boys and girls, I am the highly questioned one, RJ Miliaccio, flying solo again. This is IDD. For those of you who know, I don't disagree. Sports talk show featuring the Boston, New York fan bases. We are going to dabble into the NHL tonight for the first time this season. It will not be the last, boys and girls. But we had to do it. They are 3 games in. The big bad Bruins are back, trying to rebound from one of the biggest choke jobs in NHL history after having the greatest regular season in NHL history and blowing a 3-1 lead last year in their quest for a Stanley Cup, sending off an icon into the sunset, not the way it should have been done. And I got to tell you, having watched 2 of these first 3 games, it's weird not seeing number 37 out there doing his thing. Bergeron, as I said on a show earlier this year when he announced his retirement, was my favorite athlete in Boston since Tom Brady left. And probably my second favorite over that time was him and Brady, and of course, Big Papi, in that order in the last probably 15 years. So I miss Patrice Bergeron. It is not, I think I'm speaking for all Bruins fans, it's not right, just not seeing him out there. I mean, look, he left on top. He won his 6th Selke Award. He closed his career 79th all-time in scoring in the history of that league, and he was known for his defense. He's got a Stanley Cup. He's got a ring, so you can't say he didn't do that. And by many, he is regarded as the best two-way forward of that generation, a generation which includes people like Sidney Crosby, for example. So Bergeron is missed. The challenge for the Bruins this year is how do you – because they're not going to replace him. And they know that, and they've never said they could. How do you get you? The thing is, you've got to obviously moving on is difficult. Look, they're out to a 3-0 start. That's as good as you could have hoped for. The goalies are still the goalies, and they choked last year too. As much as they call him Linus, I call him Linus. Ullmark has picked up where he should have left off, but he didn't. To me personally, his play cost them the series last year because he was a shell of what he was in the regular season. But he gave up 5 goals in 2 different games in that series, in that loss. So he's off to a great start. Pasternak is one of the top 5 players in the game. He's playing like he's got 5 points already. He's got 4 goals and assists in 3 games. The new captain, Brad Marchand, we got to stop calling him Marchand now. Now he's a captain. Marchand has 3. Got his first goal the other night in a solid 3-1 win out on the left coast there playing San Jose. They play again tomorrow night against the Kings. And the guy that you got to look out for this year, because, look, everyone wonders when a guy like Bergeron, and Krejci, by the way, retired too. They lost 2 guys. Krejci was a great player. He wasn't Bergeron, but he's a heck of a player in his own right. So who steps up? You know, I've got a name for you. I don't know if I'm the first person to bring this guy up, but I've been watching him. Trent Frederick, he's a center. He's got 2 points so far, but he's 25 years old, but he's big, 6'2". And to me, he was a first-round pick in 2016 for the Bruins. So he's growing into his role. His plus-minus is 2 so far. And just from what, just people are talking, in the Bruins camp about his maturity level. He's gone up and now. And he was always asking questions and always trying to get better, always trying to improve himself. And it appears to, so far at least, and they were talking about this in preseason, how this kid may have turned a corner. And if he has, that bodes well for the Bruins. So I think I would tell Bruins fans, if you're not watching this kid already, Trent Frederick, keep an eye on him this year. I have a feeling about him. I hope I'm right. Pasta has to now look. He's been the best player on that team pretty much for about 4 or 5 years. Let's be honest. At least offensively speaking, he has been, and he needs to continue to do that. And he's off to a great start as well. The challenge for Marchand, because he talk about big skates to fill, Patrice Bergeron. But Marchand and Bergeron won a Stanley Cup together. Marchand is no slouch. He's a heck of a player in his own right. He's been an all-star before. He can be one again. He's got to clean up his act a little bit now. I think that the snippiness and the cheapiness and the dirty stuff that he does, which, look, if he's on your team, you love it because he does anything to get an edge, and I appreciate that. I respect it. But now he's wearing that C on the chest there. And now he's got to represent. Now he's got to follow Bergeron. So, it is my hope that he follows Bergeron's lead. And Marchand loved Bergeron. He is the one guy that he looked up to Bergeron, and rightfully so. So I think he understands the magnitude of that C on his chest and who came before him and the shoes the skates he has to fill. I think he understands that. I'm looking for a much more, and look, again, Marchand is no rookie. Again, he was on the Stanley Cup team. He's been a very good player, very consistent player since he's been here. But he's 35 years old now in his own right. And for a guy who was a third-round pick to be still playing in this league at a high level, at a mere 5'9", 180, I might add. He's the little engine that could. I mean, he has been his entire career. But he's getting a little long in the tooth now, but I think he's ready to take that mantle. And he has to be if the Bruins are going to contend this year. Last year, at least in the regular season, they had something they hadn't had in a long time. They had depth. Their second, third, and fourth lines were very potent. And I think they still can be. But leadership is everything in a sport like that. And this is the one thing that at least I have never heard anyone describe Marchand as a leader. Hard worker, yes. Chippy, fearless, all those talent, yes. All that is true. Leader has never come out of anyone's mouth when describing Brad Marchand. So I am interested to see especially when things go wrong. Now, last year, most things really didn't go wrong at all because they broke every record in the book. Most wins, most points. I mean, they literally turned the NHL up on its ear, and they won the President's Cup. But they became the 10th team in order to win that cup that didn't win the Stanley Cup. So, am I expecting them to do that again? No. I will say this, though. Both those goalies are still there. That defense is still there. Pasternak is still there. And I think that they still have pretty good depth along those lines. And I think this Frederick kid is going to surprise people. I think he has turned a corner based on whatever. We'll see what he does. I mean, it's early. Obviously, 3 games is not really a big enough sample size. Usually, I want to check in around game 15, game 20, seasons a quarter. Then you kind of get a feel for what they might be. They're on the left coast right now. They got a couple more games out there. They got the Kings tomorrow. We'll see how they finish up out there. But they've got the 2 goalies who were 2 of the top 5 goalies, at least statistically speaking, in the entire NHL last year. And if they can be anywhere near close to that again, and the Bruins and Pasternak continues to be Pasta, and Marchand becomes the one thing that people don't know about is can he be a leader? Now, again, he never had to be that guy because he had Bergeron his whole career. Well, now Bergeron's gone, so now this is going to fall on Marchand to be the voice in that locker room, to be the guy that is a calming influence, because that's what Bergeron always was. He was a calming influence. Patrice Bergeron never panicked. He never got emotional. He was the definition of consistency and steady. And I think Marchand understands that. And again, he can't be Patrice Bergeron, but I don't think he has to be. I think he does have to be the best version of himself, though, which I don't know if we've seen yet. I'm not talking about statistics. I'm talking about as a teammate, as a leader. He needs to be that dude. That dude. When I mean by that dude, that's the guy that everybody turns to when things go wrong. Okay? Who doesn't panic, who doesn't get overly emotional, doesn't get angry. He stays on an even keel and he stays the course. Can Brad Marchand do that? To me, I think that is the biggest question, other than obviously, because people are going to, what are you going to do? Bergeron's going to replace that. Look, let me say this. They're not going to replace him. Okay? You can't. It's impossible. A guy like that, that's like saying, the Pats can replace Tom Brady. No, they can't. Have the Red Sox replaced David Ortiz? No. No, they haven't. Okay, so that's where Bergeron is in the pantheon of Boston sports. He's an icon. So you're not replacing an icon. What you have to do is other people have to step up and be the best version of themselves. And if they can do that collectively, this team has a chance to contend again. They are not going to win the. Look, if they are that again, I'll shit myself. But I do expect them in the postseason. I do expect, because these goalies appear to be what they were last year, at least on the surface. When you have great goaltending, you're always going to have a chance. And they've got a guy that can score with anybody, and that's Pasternak. I don't know if you guys have watched Connor, what's his name? God, I hate when I get names wrong. Connor McDavid, I believe is the name I'm looking at. Where is he? NHL leaders. Is that who I'm talking about? McDavid, Connor McDavid. he was the MVP last year. Yeah, Connor McDavid, who has set a standard. And I don't know if you've seen him yet this year, but he looks every bit as good as he did last year. Pasternak is good enough to play with a guy like that. And Edmonton was close last year. So they've got a guy, they got a home run hitter in Pasternak. So if he stays healthy, they've got that guy. They've got the goaltending. I think they have the depth. Can Brad Marchand lead this team the way Bergeron wants to? That is the question. I'm very interested. And the weird thing about being down here in Virginia is I've actually been able to see, I see more of their games than I do the Celtics. Because I have a weird package where NHL Plus, and I get a lot of weird games. I get the Bruins a lot, which is great. So I can just tune out. I got to see the game last night. They were dominant throughout. I don't know how good San Jose is, but they did what they were supposed to do. They went on the road, they went across the country, and they beat them convincingly. So I think that they also have a chip on their shoulder. They have something to prove. And this is not just about who's going to take Bergeron's mantle, but as a leader. But this team has something to prove because they pissed off. I'll tell you right now. The one thing that was consistent about last year, even the most diehard, most blue and gold, through and through, pom-pom waving, gold sunglasses, rose-colored, gold-colored glasses fan that I know was bashing them because they choked. And no one hid from it. Not one fan said, oh, it was a great regular season. No, they were pissed. And they should have been. So I think the Bruins know that they let their fans down last year. They did not close the deal. And the only way to right that kind of a wrong is to close the deal and to do it while in the aftermath of losing a player of Bergeron's caliber, historically, I mean, would almost offset it. I don't know, completely offset it, but it would come pretty damn close if they were to do it because nobody's picking them this year because everyone across the world, they can't replace Bergeron. They'll still be good. They'll still be formidable, but they're not going to be what they were because Bergeron's gone. That's a shot right across the bow of the character ship. Okay? So if I'm the Bruins, I am using that. That is my motivation. That is my drive. Okay? Well, you guys can't possibly be as good or better because you lost him. That's where that entire locker room has to say, what? What do we, chop liver? Yeah, he was great. We love him. We miss him. We wish he was back. But this wasn't just him. Okay? And that starts with Brad Marchand taking that lead and taking that. That's got to be their motivation, their driving force, their drive, I should say. Motivation comes and goes. This has got to be about drive. What's going to drive them this season? Well, you can't possibly be as good as you were last year because you lost an icon. That would be the first thing coming out of my mouth every day at practice, every game, going, yeah, well, here we are again. We're supposed to fold. Okay, this is where the run is. This is where we start to go down. Every time there's sort of a losing streak, this has to come up. Well, maybe they're right about you. Maybe you can't be what you were. Okay, let's see what they do with that. I'm looking forward to it because when a team crashes like that and chokes on that level, you always want to see how they respond to it. Okay, you can only have great character, or your character gets challenged when you face adversity, okay? And after the way they nosedived in the playoffs last year, blowing a 3-1 lead, losing 2 games at home, I might add, Game 5 and Game 7, this team has a lot to answer for. And they have to answer to their fan base. And this is the other thing. And I think the Bruins, to a man, know this. They know how loyal their fan base is, okay? And I would put them on the Mount Rushmore of fan bases across all of sports. I have seen in my time, I've been fortunate enough to, I've got a lot of friends in a lot of different circles. I've encountered a lot of fan bases, a lot of passionate fan bases for a lot of historically great franchises. The Bruins are one of those franchises in terms of longevity. They still own the streak across sports for 29 consecutive years of going to the postseason. 29 consecutive years of going to the postseason. No team in no sport can match that. Think about that in the 4 major sports. 29 consecutive seasons of going to the postseason. That's the Boston Bruins, and they have 6 Stanley Cups. Okay? But in the Stanley Cup finals, they're a mere 6-14. They're not good when they get there. So this team has a lot to prove. Whoops, and there goes my lighting. There goes my lighting. See, this is what happens when you fire the production manager. Anyway, sorry about that. This team has a lot to prove to its fan base, as much as to itself. And I am looking forward to that. I will be tuning into them all season because, as we know, there's a team on Route 1 there that is blowing up before our eyes. And while I'm very happy about that, it's also sad because it could have been avoided. But this Bruins team still has a lot of talent. It has great goaltending. It has a home run hitter in his prime. And it has a career Bruin in Marchand, who everybody loves. He's beloved in Boston also. He's got his own niche there, Marchand. He's carved it out. He's got a ring. And now he's got to take on the greatest challenge of his career following Patrice Bergeron's footsteps. So there's a lot of storylines with this team this year, and I'm looking forward to it. I think they're going to get in, depending on their health at the end of the season. I'm not going to give you a prediction right now. It's too early. It's 3 games in. But I think barring major injury, they're going to be in the postseason. And the thing about the NHL is, as it was proven last year when an 8th seed knocked them off, and that's happened before. The Bruins weren't the first team to succumb to this. They weren't the 5th team to succumb to this. Just get in the dance. Just get in the dance, and if you have great goaltending, you have a chance against anybody. So I'm excited to see what this team does, and we'll be following them throughout the year, and we will check in on them more often than we did last year. Last year we should have checked in on them more because of what they were doing historically, but this year I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him to open up and watch a little more hockey, broaden his horizons a little bit. He's got a couple of teams there in New York. He should be an Islanders fan, I think. Craig, but we will get him to dabble into this a little bit as the year goes on. So that's going to do it for segment 2. Again, Bruins 3-0 on the start. Pasta leading with 5 points. Linus, you call him Linus, I call him Linus. Looking like that goalie who won the what trophy, the Vezina, that is, last year. They're off to a 3-0 start, first place, and they play tomorrow against the Kings. So we'll be watching them as well. Segment 3 coming back, NBA preview. The Boston Celtics are the favorite, and they should be. And we'll discuss why and the season outlook. And they are literally championship or bust. We'll talk about them in segment 3. This is the Highly Question 100 Miliaccio. Grab a cold one or grab another cold one. Me and the doctor will be here. See you on the other side. Boston Celtics NBA preview coming up.